Let's go to the Liberal Party leadership. Susan Lee, as I said, 4 votes ahead of Angus Taylor in the final numbers. Ted O'Brien, of course, elected deputy. Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, she did not run in the end. I think you're a bit tough on her there to say she was defeated in her bid to be deputy cam. She didn't run. Are they going to unite now?
Oh, well, unity will be the test, I suppose, Peter, and that's one observation that both sides have made here, is that the Liberal Party was united under Peter Dutton for the best part of 3 years. They really put up that united front, and whatever factional friction there might have been was put to one side. But we saw a little bit of the sunlight going in today, and that vote was quite close, as you know, 29 to 25. So it would only take a few changing their mind to change the leadership. Susan Lee says she'll be there for 3 years. She certainly begins with that endeavour. I think the real question, and you alluded to this in your opening remarks, Peter, where will they fall on some of those key policy issues? Because that is ultimately what the Liberal Party and ultimately the National Party too will need to decide. Do they not only stick with nuclear power, but do they stick with it in this form? Do they water it down and say, we'll just repeal the moratorium, we're not going to commit to this state-owned nuclear plan that Ted O'Brien was spearheading? What do they do on the economic narrative as well? That's going to be a really key narrative shift there. We saw Angus Taylor as the shadow treasurer. There was a bit of an attempt to put some of the failure of the coalition's message at his feet on that election defeat. And what now too for Jane Hume? We know she didn't put her hand up in the end either for a leadership role in the Senate. Will she continue as the finance minister, or will they attempt to completely redraw the board and put some new faces in those two portfolios to hit the hard reset button, if you like? So all that to be sorted out over coming weeks, Peter. But really, with the shift of personnel, it's where they land on the policy, and that's what will decide whether they can unite around that at all, I think.
We just saw images there on the screen of Andrew Hastie walking into the party room for the vote today, James. And I have to say, given that Alex Hawke is talked about as being given the job of Andrew Hastie in defence, I really fell off my seat today when I heard that Hawke, who is a factional ally of Susan Lee, who was out there doing her numbers, when he had this to say in the morning heading into the Parliament.
Who are you backing?
Well, I'm going to think about it. I've got a few more conversations to have with colleagues, and I'll make a decision like everybody else.
Mate, he's been on the blower for the last 4 or 5 days doing the numbers. I mean, give me a break. And of course, you broke that story this morning that one of Hawke's own staff has been stacking out branches in Angus Taylor's electorate. What can you tell us?
That's right, and this happened over a 6-month period last year, Peter, where a 21-year-old who resides at St Andrews at Sydney University is an advisor / speechwriter for Alex Hawke, a guy called Kokulan Santhakumar, has effectively coordinated a massive branch recruitment drive from other parts of Sydney, from the Blue Mountains, from Penrith, a couple a little bit close, but there's some that are 80 kilometres away, to all fall into a branch which was on its knees with 4 or 5 members in Camden. All of a sudden, in 6 months, it goes from about 5 members to 30. I've had 5 or 6 young Liberals tell me that this Hawke staffer coordinated this and said, we've got to save the branch, everyone's got to come on board. It now looks like the Hawke staffer is going to be president of that branch, and this was a factional play to basically grow control of an area which is in Angus Taylor's electorate, effectively could be voting in pre-selections in the future. It's not significant enough to decide Angus's pre-selection, but it's certainly a factional play that happened between June and December last year. Now, what's interesting about this is that everything that we know about Alex Hawke and his involvement in counting numbers for Susan Lee, I put this to Alex Hawke and said, mate, this staffer in your office, has he been recruiting people for another branch? Alex Hawke says, I don't know anything about it. And he also insists, and I want to be very clear on this, Peter, he insists that his electoral office in the seat of Mitchell is not used for Liberal Party factional dealings. And I just want to put that on the record. Alex Hawke says there is no factional dealings in his office, and he knew nothing about what the staff was up to. So that's where things are at. In the 12 hours since that story came out, Peter, I've had a mountain of correspondence from young Liberals about a much wider issue across Sydney, where members are being recruited. There is some talk of members being recruited and offered possibly jobs in MP's staff or offices. And this includes recruitment right through to the school system before people finish their HSC. So there's a lot more to come on this, but certainly this happened in Angus Taylor's backyard, and we revealed that as he was vying for the leadership against Susan Lee and against the person that was counting her numbers, Alex Hawke.
I tell you, I'm fanning my face, gents, because I need smelling salts after hearing that sort of furphy thrown at me that
Well,
there's no
that's what he says,
grandstacking, there's
Peter.
no
I'm just reporting what he
politicking
told
going
me.
on. I tell you what, memo to all of them, you know, the first thing I did when I became Chief of Staff to the opposition leader was actually to hire a bit of grey hair. You know, hire people that were policy experts that, you know, could read a balance sheet, knew how to do a costing, could understand, you know, on a map where Burkina Faso was, who weren't just branch stackers. It will be interesting how she puts her office together will be telling as to what sort of leader Susan Lee will be. I'll leave it there, including her Chief of Staff, but there's rumours about that tonight. A certain failed senator is putting her hand up. Goodness me. Gents, there you go, something to race down and see if you can turn that into a story. I'll leave it there.